Hi everybody. Today we are talking about proper email etiquette. So proper ways to send an email. Now you guys being in 6th grade, maybe you have experience sending email already. I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Some of you maybe have some experience sending messages in Canvas, which is kind of like email. So today we're talking about ways to, I guess, properly format those type of messages. This is mainly specified towards email, but you can also use the same rules when you're sending messages in Canvas to some of your teachers as well. So first thing, when you are creating a new email, the first thing you want to think about is your subject line. You want to make sure that that your subject line is clear and specific, but you also want to make sure you keep it somewhat short. So like a good example of this would be missing assignment, whereas a bad example would be Skyward shows I'm missing an assignment and I want to know how to submit it because I need my grade to be higher, with a bunch of exclamation points. So you can see the difference between a good example and a bad example, right? A good example, it's nice and short. If I were to read your subject line, I would know exactly what the email is about. It's about a missing assignment. Whereas if in this bad example, first of all, it's way too long. You don't want to say the entire message in just the subject line. Okay. Also, you want to make sure, obviously you never want to have all these exclamation points because it just kind of seems like you're yelling at the person who's getting the email. So that's definitely not what you want, right? So make sure the subject line is nice and short. It gets just the main subject of it is all you need. Okay, the actual body, the actual email message itself is where you're going to give details about the subject. Okay, next let's talk about the salutation. The salutation is like you greeting somebody. So whoever you're sending it to, it's the greeting. Okay, so anytime you're sending an email, you want to try and use a proper greeting and address the recipient in a recipient in a professional manner, especially if it's going to a teacher, or in the future when you're in a job, if it's going to a coworker or your boss. You always want to make sure it's a professional greeting. Okay, so like depending on when you are sending the email, maybe you start with "Good morning, Mr. Yoder," or "Good morning, your teacher." Or if you're sending the email in the afternoon, maybe you could say "Good afternoon, Mr. Yoder." Or you could even do "Dear Mr. Yoder." Okay, "Dear Mr. Yoder" is kind of, the covers all your bases, right? You could even, if it's in the evening, you could say "Good evening, Mr. Yoder." Okay, this just opens it up nice and professional. It's like you're saying hello to me in a professional way. Then the body of your email, make sure it is clear and concise. Make sure you use complete sentences and proper grammar and punctuation. One of the worst things is if I get an email and it's just, littered with, run-on sentences, no capitalization, no punctuation, okay, just a bunch of grammar mistakes. That is the worst type of email that I could get. It's much more pleasant to get emails that are written, with people are checking their spelling, you're checking to make sure you have complete sentences, okay? Checking your punctuation. So make sure you double check after you type it. Go back and check your body. Make sure there's no spelling issues. Make sure you're writing in complete sentences. There's no spelling issues. Another thing that's bad is writing in all caps. Make sure you check your caps lock. Because if your caps lock is on in the email, it kind of comes off as you yelling. And you definitely don't want the recipient to think that you're yelling at them. Okay, one thing you have to keep in mind is that when you're emailing somebody, they can't see your facial expressions. Okay, so they can't tell if you're yelling or not. Okay, they can only tell your mood or whatever based on how you're writing to them. And if you're writing in all caps, it sounds like you're yelling. Okay, so just be careful with that as well. And then the sign off, basically how you're saying goodbye. You always want to end your email with a thank you, and then your first and last name. If you're writing to a teacher, I would also recommend to include your period and your color, like the day that you have it. So for example, a good sign-off would be, "Thank you for your time, Mr. Yoder, period for black," right? So if I'm writing it, right? If I'm sending an email to somebody, maybe I end off the body, I say "thank you," or "thank you for your time," or "thank you in advance." And then my name would be Mr. Yoder, and I'd say I'm in period for black. Okay, you might be in period 3 red. So you would end with your name, period 3 red. Okay, with a thank you in front of it. Okay, so you always want to end your email saying thank you, just thanking the person for reading your email, thanking the person in advance for responding maybe. Always thank the reader. Okay, so I'm going to go through some good examples of emails, and then I'll also go through some not so good examples of emails. So here, the first one, here's you can see this is a good one because it starts with Dear Mr. Yoder. Okay, these sentences are full, complete sentences. I can tell she double checked the grammar, punctuation, all that. Says, I was wondering if I could redo my apps with processing activity guide to raise my grade. Maybe you could, and then there's one small little error, right? It says, maybe you could me figure out what I did wrong. I think she meant maybe you could help me figure out what I did wrong. She left out one word. But other than that, this email is really good. She ends with thank you, her name, and then she ends with period 8 red. Okay, so you can see this is a really well done email. She typed out in full sentences. I like that she has spaces in between Dear Mr. Yoder, her body of the email, and she has a space in between that and the thank you, right? She even has a comma after thank you. So this is a really well written email. Okay. Another example. Again, this person started off with Dear Mr. Yoder. Thank you for letting me redo it. This is actually from the same person from the previous email. So, thank you for letting me redo it and for all the help. I corrected the things you said and just resubmitted it. Once again, thank you for your time. And this time she ended with sincerely, her name, period 8 red. Okay, so you can see, again, she's taking her time on these emails. She's not just rushing through it. You got to remember, an email message is not a text message. Okay, you don't use abbreviations. Okay. Notice how she actually wrote out the word you. She didn't just use the letter U. Okay, she wrote out the word you. She didn't use, abbreviations that you might use in texting. Okay, an email needs to be much more professional. Okay, and there's one more good email I'm going to share you. It says, hello, this is by a different student. So it says, hello, Mr. Yoder. When I went into Canvas, I saw that I had a C-, and I went into it and it said I got a 0 out of 5 on the My Strengths Explorer assignment. Now you might think, oh, this My Strengths Explorer, there should be a space in here. No, it shouldn't. That's actually how it's spelled, and that's how the assignment is spelled. So that's fine. Yeah. She got a period, new sentence. I think we went over this in class today, but it doesn't seem to be submitted. And if you could explain how to submit that assignment, that would be appreciated. Thanks. And then she's got her name, and then in parentheses, period 2 red. Okay, so again, you could see she's using complete sentences. She's got proper grammar and punctuation. She's got a good greeting. She says, hello, Mr. Yoder, right? Hello, and then the name is fine. That's a fine greeting. Okay, and then at the end, she has a thank you, and then she's got her name and her period. That's perfect. Okay, so those are some examples of good emails. Now, I'm also going to include some not so good email examples just so you can kind of understand what I consider a bad email. And these are real emails that I've gotten from people. Okay, here's a bad example. This is all I got. I got a D and an F on 2 assignments. Why? Well, okay, so at first, there's no greeting, right? There's no hello, Mr. Yoder, or good morning, Mr. Yoder. And then there's no thank you. There's no who this person is writing from, right? Or who the person that's writing this is, right? All it is I got a D and an F on 2 assignments. Why? I mean, for me, this person's being a little demanding, right? There's a nicer way to say it. There's a nice, proper way to say it. I mean, this wouldn't be as bad if he said, first, he greeted me in some way. So, hello, Mr. Yoder. Maybe he says, I have a question about my grade. Skyward says I got a D and an F on 2 assignments. And then instead of just saying why, he could say, would you mind explaining the reason for that for me? And then at the end, he should say, thank you for your time, and then his name with his period, right? All right, here's another one I got. For my stuff for Naviance, I was done with all of them and submitted them all. Okay, again, so there's no greeting, there's no sign off, right? There's no saying thank you for your time, and then their name or anything like that. There's no capitalization anywhere in here or punctuation, right? They didn't capitalize the for at the start. There's no punctuation at the end. There's no commas in here, right? You can see all the issues there is with this email. It's just one short run-on sentence that's just blah, you know? And then this last one is, I didn't actually have a copy of the email, but I can remember specifically I got this email from somebody at a previous school. All they said was, hey, can you fix my grade? And it's like, what do you mean fix your grade? What's wrong with your grade? Can you be more specific? Okay, so first of all, can you greet me properly? Say, excuse me, Mr. Yoder, or good morning, Mr. Yoder, and then end with a goodbye of some way. Say thank you, okay? So make sure, you guys, I've shown you some good email examples, some bad email examples. This one's not good, okay? I mean, also because they use the letter U instead of the word U. But also be more specific. Hey, can you help me raise my grade, Mr. Yoder? Or what can I do in order for me to get my grade higher, right? Not just say, hey, can you fix my grade? You know, that's not a very nice email, I guess. Okay. A couple things to remember when you're sending an email. Remember, emails are forever. So if you send an email, it's out there forever. Okay. It doesn't go away. Okay. Unless they delete it, that's one thing. But deleted emails can be recovered. Right, so just be aware that anything that you send an email, it's going to be out there. They could save it, and that could be out there forever. Second, know your audience. If you're sending an email to a friend, that's one thing. Then maybe you can be a little bit more casual, right? But if you're sending an email to a teacher or somebody that's professional, you want to make sure that you are being professional in your email. Make sure you practice common courtesy. If you get an email, it's common courtesy to respond to that email in 24 hours. In the same way, if, for number 4 says be patient, in the same way, if you send an email to somebody, don't expect an email back within 5 minutes. Because people are busy, okay? You're sending an email, you have to understand that they're going to get back to you eventually, but they might not get back to you right away. It might be 24 hours. So again, just be patient. Okay, so your assignment is to send me an email. It's simple. Okay, it can be about anything school appropriate, whether it be school related, it can be sports, a new hobby that you've started maybe, you can maybe be something personal about you, something like that. Just send me an email of some sort. Keep it brief and simple, no more than 1 paragraph in length. The email should include a clear and concise subject line, a greeting, a paragraph with full and complete sentences and proper grammar and punctuation, and then a thank you with your name and your period at the end. Okay. Now, if you don't know how to access your email, what you can do, right? If you click this little search button, for you it's probably a bar of some sort, and then if you type in Outlook, the Outlook app is what you're looking for. What that will do is it will open up this app right here. Okay, it's called Outlook. Now, to send an email, right up here, you just click New Email, and this pops up right here. Your from is going to automatically show up. The to is where you're going to type in your email address. So my email address is jdyoder@wani.org. This subject is where you're going to put your subject line, and then you'll type in your email right here. Okay? If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. But that's the assignment for today. I hope you guys have a good day.